Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here with Jason Blaha Strength and Fitness, and today I want to chat with you guys and gals a little bit about really this ludicrous idea that we see a lot perpetrated in health and fitness circles that big pharma somehow funds all sorts of research to convince you to eat things, so that they can sell drugs to people. And I want people to think about why this is ludicrous. It's one of those where it's the type of conspiracy theory that could sound good at first. It's like, yeah, okay, until you start looking at the claims being made. And I think realistically, stuff like having these discussions when it comes to things like statins, for example, I don't think people understand how cheap statins are today. They're just not. They're not very expensive. They're not like these are big profit items anymore. There's so much competition for different statins and different companies are making them. They're really a low profit item. I'm not saying they're not making money on it, but realistically, step back and think about how little some of these drugs are making on. Okay. The stuff they're making big money on is gosh stuff at this point, like Ozempic and things like that. All right, maybe growth hormone. These are high profit margin items for them. I'm sorry, but certain types of insulin really are not that big of a profit for them. Statins are not a profit for them. Metformin is just not that big of a profit for them. And I think what people are forgetting, they're acting like the stuff that's talking about, hey, if you eat this way, this is healthy, this is unhealthy, that this is going to help big pharma. Does anyone not understand? So set this other thing aside of how little that matters. Do you not understand that as long as Americans are obese and eat junk food, they have an endless supply of patients and customers? Like, let's be clear. Does anyone really think any of the healthy diet approaches, the different ones that people come up with, are what's pushing illness? Okay, people say, well, over here they're pushing a lower fat, higher carb. Yeah, but do you really think that competes with the standard American diet? Do you think any of these various controversial diet approaches compete with the standard American diet for destroying people's health and requiring them to get on medication? Use some common sense. Okay. As long as it is legal and socially acceptable for people to consume alcohol, they're going to have customers. Okay, we need to be clear on that. As long as refined sugars are consumed in excess or just popular and given to children and getting them addicted on it, they're going to have no shortage of customers. As long as all these fatty foods, yes, keto people, your garbage too, your bacon, your butter, all this stuff. As long as Americans continue to eat all these things, okay, they're going to have no shortage. As long as fast food and McDonald's and pizza and burgers and soda and hot dogs and ice cream are the norm, to consider just normal foods that people eat every day, they're going to have no shortage of customers. They don't have to do anything. Again, alcohol, tobacco. As long as these products are consumed in massive amount, these addictive, harmful products, big pharma will have a zero shortage of customers. They're not going to have any problems. So when people come up with these ideas, they're just trying to get you to eat things that we know are actually oftentimes quite healthy. Do you really and truly think that is being pushed in nutritional science to sell more drugs? Does anyone out here really and truly think as long as the junk food is all there and the garbage and the alcohol and all the addictive crap and people being sedentary, do you really think they're going to have a shortage of customers and they're not going to make billions and billions and billions of dollars in profits? Just shut up. Like, if you really and truly think that any of these dietary approaches are what they're worried about, you have completely lost the plot. Okay? And notice it's always the diet zealots who follow some extreme dietary approach who push this. I could make a case for corporate funding and corporate interests having a massive interest in pushing keto diets and stuff. Sure, absolutely. Or the carnivore. A lot of the data they use gets really heavily tied to beef and dairy and pork interests. Okay? Is that coincidence? I don't think so. Now, they stand to make a lot of money. And by the way, I'm not against dairy or beef, by the way. Like, I'm not anti these things. I just think saturated fat should be moderated. I'm not telling you not to ever eat it. I think milk and yogurts and stuff are great. I think a lean red meat can be perfectly reasonable part of a healthy diet. I have no problem with that. But I'm not a diet zealot. That's the point. You know, but people have all these crazy ideas. They say stupid stuff like the food pyramid, but it's like, if you really read the food pyramid, it's not, their cereals you're talking about aren't the sugar-laden stuff because refined sugars can't comprise more than 3% of your total diet. All right? If you look at the tip of the old food pyramid, what all is in the tip of the food pyramid? I'm going to go down the list of the foods that are in the tip. That means moderation to zero. They're to comprise no more than 3% of your diet total. Sweets, refined sugars, right there. Oils, butter, all added oils and fats, and refined sugars, sweets, all of them. On the old food pyramid, don't comprise more than 3% of your diet. I don't care which camp you're in. One of those three things in every single diet camp is the enemy. How are you really going to blame something like the food pyramid when it clearly, explicitly, insanely restricts every one of those things? Stop. People are being stupid, right? Step back and look at nutrition research and take it for what it's worth. But don't stand there and pretend that rice or fruits and vegetables, my God, are being pushed to sell drugs. Just stop. Because the data is overwhelming around the world, including in countries that don't even have a big pharma. Like our big pharma has no access to their country. Still produce the same data. Okay? Or people come up with absurdities like really pretending that beef tallow or butter is healthier than seed oils. It's not. And I'm not telling you to consume seed oil, but I'm not telling you to go drink this crap. I'm not telling you to do that. But the others are objectively worse. And that's supported by data. And you don't need there's no conspiracy to promote this idea. Because anyone who's looking at the data and everything else, like, yeah, we probably shouldn't be adding a bunch of added fats. You probably shouldn't really be cooking in any of this, if we're just going to be honest. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.